Hi everyone, this is new crime story and amazing story. So don't waste the time. Let's go.
Hello everyone, my name is David. Today we are going to take a look at another real story with you. Most of the time it happens like this. When wives notice that their husband has more than one number, they start getting suspicious. If he doesn't mention or show that second number, they wait for the right chance. When the opportunity comes, they secretly call that number from their own phone, save it, and keep it hidden. Sometimes later on, that real original number becomes useful, whether to check the truth, confront him, or even catch him red-handed. Sometimes it's not even a secret. Many husbands openly share both their numbers with their wives, even 3 or 4 if they have them. But then there are times when things take a different turn. One night a husband was asleep, and suddenly his wife noticed something strange. Under his pillow there were not one, but 2 phones. Until that moment she believed he only had one. She immediately recognized the first one. It was the usual phone she knew. But the second, a new one, shocked her. She picked it up, turned it around, and thought, where did this come from? Why didn't I know about this? Suspiciously, she quietly got up and walked into the other room with the phone. Her heart was racing. The more she checked, the more questions came up. New contacts, late-night call history. That night she realized her husband's secret life was hidden not in his words, but in the second phone under his pillow. She takes her husband's second phone and dials her own mobile number. As soon as the call goes through, she cuts it within 2 seconds. Now that number appears on her phone. Quietly, she returns to her bedroom and places the phone back exactly where it was. The second number is now safely saved in her phone. That story ends there. But right after this, another story begins. One that shook Bengaluru's history. It was the city's biggest gold heist ever. 40 kilos of gold were stolen. At that time, the value was much lower, but if calculated at today's gold price, it comes to nearly more than billions worth of gold. Before this, no bank in Bengaluru had ever witnessed such a massive theft. This was the first gold heist of its kind, a story that created a storm back then. Nobody had ever imagined someone would dare to steal on such a scale, especially gold, and perhaps this was the very first theft in Bengaluru that became so famous, because someone had the courage to pull off such a daring act. This story is about Muthoot Mini Nidhi Finance Bank in Bengaluru. As you know, Muthoot is famous all over India for giving money against pledged gold, charging interest on it. It's a well-known and trusted name across the country. In one of Muthoot's Bengaluru branches, the bank manager was Mr. Isaac John. He carried a big responsibility. The keys to every lock of the branch were under his control. That meant he held the keys to all the lockers, and even the main doors of the bank. Once the bank was closed, he was the highest authority in that branch, and the entire responsibility of its safety rested on his shoulders. This incident happened on the 2nd of June 2009. At 10 a.m., sharp on time, John arrives at the bank. The day begins with all the accounting work. Cash given against pledged gold, records updated, and the gold safely placed inside the lockers. After finishing the day's tasks, evening approaches, and it's time to close the bank. At exactly 5 p.m., as always, John closes the bank. The staff leave one by one, and finally, he carefully checks the lockers, double-checks the main locks, and after securing everything, he takes the keys with him. Stepping outside, he heads towards his home, which was nearby. For his daily commute, he usually used a scooter. That evening, too, he got on his scooter and rode away. He had a habit. He never kept the bank or locker keys in his pocket wallet, or even in the bag he carried. From a safety point of view, he always placed the keys under the seat of his scooter, the very seat he sat on, so that even if someone tried to rob him, they could never get to the keys. On the 2nd of June 2009, following the same routine, John placed the keys beneath the scooter seat cushion and started riding toward home. He had gone only a short distance when, on a road with very little traffic, something unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, a biker came speeding in and suddenly crashed into his scooter. John fell onto the road along with his scooter. He got a few injuries, nothing too serious, but he was definitely hurt. Surprisingly, the biker didn't run away. He also got up and checked himself. Just then, a Maruti Omni car was passing by. The people inside noticed the scene, both a scooter and a bike lying overturned on the road. They quickly stopped and came over. Seeing the 2 injured men, they said, "Come with us, we'll take you to the nearby hospital." John's knees were scraped badly from the rough, stony road, something quite common in 2-wheeler accidents. So they took him to a nearby hospital. John was seated in the Maruti, and the biker also got in. But what John didn't know was that the accident had been staged on purpose. The biker was part of a gang, and even the Maruti Omni that stopped wasn't there out of kindness. It too belonged to the same gang. This was all part of a bigger plan. In reality, they were thieves, robbers, and they wanted to loot John. They were after one particular thing he had, and that's why they had been following him. As soon as John sat inside the car, he was suddenly made to inhale chloroform. Within moments, he lost consciousness. The gang then drove the unconscious John a little further away. They dragged him out of the car at a deserted spot and left him on the side of the road, where no one could see. John was still unconscious, completely unaware of what was happening. The gang searched him, took his mobile phone, his wallet, everything he had. But the one thing they were looking for, they couldn't find. What they really wanted was the bank and locker keys. Yet, those keys weren't with him. Confused, they wondered where the keys had gone. They knew John had locked the bank himself, because they had been following him the whole time. Then it struck them. What if the keys were in John's scooter? The moment that thought crossed their minds, 2 members of the gang rushed back to the accident spot where the scooter had fallen. But when they reached the spot, the scooter was gone. They immediately realized what must have happened. Since the scooter was lying there unattended, someone might have assumed it was abandoned. Either a passerby had informed the police, or the police themselves had found it and taken it away. In any case, it would definitely be at the nearest police station. So they headed straight there. At the station's parking area, they spotted the scooter. Now the real challenge was how to get the keys out, since police officers were all around. The 2 men went up to the officers and said, "Sir, there was a small accident. Mr. John was involved, and we're his acquaintances. He called us, so we came here. He's fine now, just minor injuries." After the first aid at the hospital, John was discharged. So the gang members told the police, "Since he's fine, and we don't want to file any complaint, can we take the scooter with us?" The police, not wanting extra paperwork, agreed and said, "All right, take it." The 2 men took the scooter out of the station. Once outside, they carefully checked it, and under the seat, they finally found the keys. With the keys in hand, they immediately informed the rest of their gang. Meanwhile, on the other side, John was still lying unconscious by the roadside in a deserted area. 18 hours passed. He had been knocked unconscious on the evening of June 2nd, and now it was the morning of June 3rd, almost noon. Suddenly, John regained consciousness. When he opened his eyes, he was confused. Where am I? Slowly, the memories came back. The accident, strangers putting him in a car on the pretext of taking him to the hospital. Then something crashed over his face, and complete blackout. He immediately searched through his belongings. His watch was gone. His mobile phone was gone. Then it struck him. Yesterday was June 2nd, payday. His wallet had contained 20K in cash. Still, he consoled himself. All right, it's just 20K in one mobile. At least my life was spared. That's what really matters. He had no idea what else had happened in those missing hours. Regretting the loss of his 20K rupees, John got up and went back to the place where the accident had happened. From there, he made his way to the police station. The officers told him, "Your scooter was already taken by your friends or relatives." John was shocked. Friends? Relatives? He hadn't called anyone. Surprised, he thought, how did my relatives even know I had an accident? And if they really knew, why did they take my scooter first instead of helping me? Why didn't they pick me up or take me to the hospital? I was lying unconscious on the road. Puzzled, he stepped out of the station. Just a little distance away, he suddenly spotted his scooter parked on the roadside, abandoned like nobody owned it. He ran towards it, relieved. At least I got my scooter back. But then, another thought struck him. The back keys. He quickly lifted the scooter seat. What he saw gave him the first real shock. The keys were gone. Something was terribly wrong. In a panic, John rushed straight to the bank. By then, it was already morning of the next day, almost opening time. As he arrived, he saw the locks of the bank already open. Heart racing, he ran inside. And what he saw left him stunned. Every locker was open. All the gold was gone. When the register was checked, it revealed that on June 2nd, a total of 40 kilograms of gold had been stored in those lockers. Back in 2009, gold was cheaper, but even then, the value of that 40 kilograms was around 60 million. The moment he realized this, John, trembling, immediately called his senior bosses and explained everything. Within no time, the top officials of the bank arrived. After all, 40 kilos of gold was no small matter. Within a short time, the news also reached the media. In the history of Bengaluru, such a massive gold theft had never happened before. The police arrived at the scene and inspected the bank. To their surprise, there were no alarms, no sirens, and not even strong security arrangements in place. When the police heard the whole story, one fact stood out clearly. The only person who had the keys was the bank manager, and everything had happened around him. So they questioned John. He narrated everything, how he left the bank on his scooter, how the accident happened, how he was knocked unconscious, and how, when he woke up, his cash and mobile were gone. Most importantly, he told them that the keys, which he always kept hidden inside the scooter, were missing.
Millions of traders around the world choose TradingView to ensure that their trading doesn't turn into guessing on coffee grounds or tarot cards. Our powerful tools, easy-to-use charts, and over 50 professional indicators make your technical analysis.
The police's first suspicion naturally fell on the bank manager, John. They felt that so many things couldn't just be coincidences, and the fact that he claimed to have been unconscious for 16 hours had no proof or witnesses. No one had actually seen him lying there, and there were no clues or eyewitnesses to the so-called accident. To the police, it all looked like a setup. Within a day, John was taken into police custody, where they tried every possible way to get a confession out of him. Meanwhile, the media had picked up the story. Reports were already running with John's name in the headlines, saying the bank manager was under suspicion, and with gold worth such a massive amount involved, it had become breaking news everywhere. All over Bengaluru, this was the headline. Every channel, every newspaper was running the story. The police, however, had no solid clue. Meanwhile, bank manager John kept insisting that he was completely innocent. Back in 2009, unlike today, CCTV cameras weren't everywhere. There was no CCTV outside the bank, none on the road where the accident took place, and none even outside the police station where the two men had taken away the scooter. With no footage, no leads, the police were left empty-handed. Still, the pressure was immense. After all, it was a case of 40 kilos of gold. To handle the investigation, the police formed 6 different teams. Now, those teams began their search, trying to piece together the truth. The police were still empty-handed, with no idea where a breakthrough might come from. Then, during their investigation, they discovered something unusual. Right across from the bank, exactly 1 month earlier, a footwear shop had opened, selling shoes and slippers. But coincidentally, on the very day of the robbery, that shop was suddenly shut down. This struck the police as very strange. The shop opens just a month earlier, right in front of the bank, and then closes on June 2nd, the very day the gold was stolen. And to add to the suspicion, the person who had rented the shop had completely disappeared. The police then went to the landlord of the property and asked, "Who did you rent this shop to?" The landlord gave a name, but beyond that, he couldn't provide much more. He gave the police a phone number, saying, "This is the number of the person who rented the shop from me." When the police traced that number, they found something very strange. The SIM card had been activated only a month earlier, the same time the shop was rented. When they pulled the CDR, called Detail Records, it showed that the number had only ever connected to 4 or 5 other numbers. No wide network, no random calls, just those few. But when the police investigated those 4 or 5 numbers, they discovered the same pattern. Every single one of them had been purchased within the past month, and all of them were bought using fake ID cards. Another dead end, no real clue. Then the police decided that nothing related to these 1-month-old SIM cards should be overlooked. They examined every call, whether it lasted just a few seconds or a full minute. But in every case, they kept hitting dead ends because all the SIMs were bought with fake identities, and all within the same 1-month window. To the police, it became clear this was a well-planned conspiracy. Renting a shop right across from the bank a month earlier, buying new SIMs around the same time, and keeping communication limited to just 4 or 5 people. Everything pointed to something big and deeply organized. Still, the police had no solid proof, no CCTV footage, no photographs, no concrete leads, just suspicions. One of the police teams kept digging further into the case. In the call details, the police kept searching, hoping to find at least some clue. Among the CDR records, 1 number appeared, but the investigators initially ignored it, thinking it was unimportant. Later, one officer noticed something odd. On one particular day, a call had been made to that number, and it lasted only 2 seconds. Just 2 seconds before the line was cut. At first, the police dismissed it, saying, "That could have been a wrong number. Who says anything in 2 seconds?" But that officer insisted, "No, check this 2-second call as well. That 2-second call had been made with the same number which number shop owner gave to police. The landlord and 4 or 5 others had been communicating with that same number. And from that number, a single 2-second call had once been made to another number, a number that otherwise had no regular conversations. When the police traced that number, they discovered it belonged to a woman living in Bengaluru. Unlike the others, her SIM card was properly registered, original, and authentic. This was the first real number in the entire investigation that wasn't fake. The woman actually existed. Immediately, a police team was dispatched to her residence. When they arrived at her house, they began questioning her. The police asked her, "Your phone once received a call that lasted only 2 seconds. Whose number is this?" Before that, they asked her name. She gave it. Then they asked, "Who does this number belong to?" She replied, "My husband." "What's your husband's name?" She answered, "Yakumar." The moment the police heard that name, something clicked. They remembered that Yakumar had already been jailed once before in a theft case. So the police asked her again, "That 2-second call on your mobile, where did it come from?" She explained, "One night my husband Yakumar was asleep. He has always had just one phone, but about a month ago I noticed another phone lying near him. I grew suspicious. He had never told me about it, never shared the number. I thought maybe he was hiding something, maybe an affair. Out of doubt, I quietly picked up that second phone and dialed my own number. As soon as my mobile rang, I cut the call. It was over in 2 seconds. Then I saved the number, put his phone back exactly where it was, and never told my husband that I had copied the number, because I wanted to check if he would tell me about it or not. He never did, so I saved the number myself. Just out of suspicion, because a wife saw her husband had a second phone and he wasn't admitting it, she dialed her own number. That 2-second call was the key that led the police straight to Jaikumar's wife. After that, it was Jaikumar's turn. The police picked him up, and then all the links started falling into place. It came out that when Jaikumar had been in jail earlier, he had met some thieves there. Those men said, "We've done plenty of petty thefts. Let's do something big this time." Before prison, he had some friends, and after prison, he connected with more friends outside. Most of them were from around Bengaluru. Together, they planned to strike it big once, and then live an easy life. That's what every criminal thinks. They started scouting places for the heist. That's when the idea of Muthoot Bank came up. Mainly because right in front of it, a shop was available for rent. They decided to rent it, set up a fake footwear store, even put up a board, though they never actually brought in shoes or sandals. Since it was just the beginning, their real purpose was to sit inside that shop, pretending to fix up the counter and fittings, while secretly keeping watch on the bank. They noted everything, who comes at what time when the bank manager leaves, what's inside the lockers. After a full month of surveillance, they got a SIM card and decided that only 4 or 5 of them would use it. And once the operation was done, the SIM would be destroyed. After all this, they found out that John, the manager, was the only one who had the key. They also tracked when he left home and when he returned. Once they had all the details, they planned an accident. They got a vehicle and knocked him unconscious. They thought the key would be in his bag or pocket, but it was actually in his scooter. After that, they cleaned out all the gold from the locker. Their plan was clear. Once the heist was done, they would split up, never meet or contact each other again, and destroy all phones and SIM cards. Then each of them would go on a short holiday to lay low. One chose Manali, another chose Shimla, another Mussoorie, while some went to Delhi, some to Mumbai. And just like that, they all scattered. No one was supposed to contact anyone. They fixed a date, only on that date they would make contact. If by then everything was safe and the police hadn't tracked them, there would be a get-together in Shimla, and it was Jai Kumar's responsibility to organize it. So after taking all the gold, they split up, but the police got to Jai Kumar and he spilled everything, where, when, and how it was supposed to happen. He revealed that there was a meeting planned. Everyone was traveling around, but no one was allowed to contact anyone by phone until the specific date. The date finally came. The police were sitting right there in front of Jai Kumar and told him to make the call. But the plan was not for him to call. Everyone else was supposed to call him. So now, on the agreed date, the phone started ringing. Calls came into Jai Kumar's original home number, the one he hadn't used during the operation. And with the police watching, the calls kept coming, each voice checking in, waiting for the plan. Jai Kumar acted completely normal, saying, "Everything's fine." The police didn't get even the slightest hint, and in the end everyone fell for Jai Kumar's words and gathered in Shimla. All the thieves were standing right in front of the Bengaluru police. The party they thought they had come for was completely ruined by the police. Everyone was caught red-handed. After that, based on their statements, the police recovered gold from different places. Some had hidden it, some had buried it, some had already sold it. Altogether 34.6 kilos. That's about 40 kilos of gold had been stolen. The rest that was sold was traced and seized. Later, one inspector was also suspended because it came out that he had struck a deal with them. He told the thieves, "Reveal the rest of the gold. 5 kilos is a lot. In return, we'll weaken the case against you in court." Evidence of this deal was found and that inspector was suspended as well. The case went to trial and on January 6, 2023, the Sessions Court gave its verdict. All of them were sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, they had already served almost that much time, as they had been in jail and sometimes out on bail. The police later said, if the wife hadn't made that 2-second phone call out of suspicion, this case would have been so tangled that these thieves might never have been caught. Even the smallest clue or piece of evidence was enough to crack it.
So this was today's story. Thank you for watching this. I hope like this video. So like the video and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. So bye bye.